You have been at the head of the discussion of the year of the black quarterback in 2019. And so now as we look at it in the context of what has happened over the last few weeks, what was the impact of having both Patrick Mahomes and Deshaun Watson involved in that video from the players last week?
Well, Greeny, it was enormous. We all know that this is a quarterback league, and Patrick Mahomes and Deshaun Watson are two of the brightest young stars in this game. And quarterbacks are the most protected class in this league, and they dominate the discussion in this league, and they are the faces of this league. So, with both of those young men, when they attached to that video project and gave a commitment that they were going to do that, it fundamentally changed the discussion in the NFL corridors of power because you could not be opposed to what these young stars, these guys who are going to make these owners a lot of money over the next decade, 15 years, it just fundamentally changed the conversation.
Dominique?
Yeah, I do think that the quarterback is a different animal in this league, and they matter more than anybody else. As reluctant as I am to admit that as a defensive back, the quarterbacks move the needle. No one tunes in to watch defensive players or really that many offensive players. The numbers change when quarterbacks show up. The jerseys that are bought are quarterbacks. So when the most prominent quarterbacks are black and outspoken, and even the black quarterbacks who weren't in a video, many of them have been outspoken on social media about these issues. When they have an opinion, it matters more. And I think that the owners in the league have to listen when the quarterbacks feel something because they are the class, they're the stars. So if you think of this as a television property, those are the leading men. There's a reason why people tune in is to see those guys. So I'm happy to see them taking their power and using it this way. And it's nice to see the NFL is responding to it, but I think more is expected.
Well, Jason, I'd be curious to get your perspective on a conversation we had at the beginning of this hour. The most prominent players in the NFL, to the point of this discussion, have now spoken loudly here. We've heard the league office from the very top of it. Roger Goodell has spoken loudly here. Many players, coaches, team executives. We have not heard from individual NFL owners, hardly at all. Where do you expect that to go?
Well, I do think that's going to come, but Greeny, let's remember that Roger Goodell is a very intelligent person. I mean, no matter what people think about his leadership and things that have occurred, he is no dummy. He would not go out and put out a video that politically is going to bring so much of a firestorm on the league that is going to do things that would make him have to answer to his bosses if he had not already answered to his bosses. Don't for one second think that Roger Goodell did not consult with the people he needed to consult with because there's this tidal wave that's occurring in this country right now with regard to this reckoning we're having on race. And Roger Goodell understood, and he told his bosses, and I'm sure this, and part of this is my reporting, that the conversations were, we have to get ahead of this because this is coming.
Dominique?
It's too late. Too late to get ahead of it. They've been behind it for quite some time, so they have to catch up. So I do think that I also wanted to point out when you were talking about the year of the black quarterback that the #1 overall pick, Kyler Murray, and probably front runner for the MVP in the coming season is another black quarterback. And I do think that the idea that the power comes from them and they're going to speak, people will listen. But I don't know that. I mean, I understand and respect your reporting, Jason, and I'm sure that he checked with the owners that he needed to, but I'm not sure that he needs to at this point. They have no real power over Roger Goodell at this point if this is something that he feels strongly about, because I know that he wanted to get the last CBA out of the way before he had planned to kind of ride off into the sunset. And I think Roger's in a position because I don't know if your reporting suggests this, but everyone that I talk to suggests that Roger has been on the right side of most of these race issues. He just hasn't felt that he had the latitude to speak out. And now, if he's done the CBA, he's in what is probably his last contract, what power do they have over him? If he feels like he needs to speak out and say something more aggressive, then I think that bodes well for him and his legacy going forward. So I'm not so sure that he is as intimidated by the people who run the league as he might have been in the past.
Jason?
Hey, Greeny, can I respond to that just for a quick second?
Of course.
I see what Fox is saying. And let me clarify what I'm saying, Fox. And I don't know if I did a very good job of that. When I say he checked with him, Roger's purpose, his job, is to make money for his owners. Right. So when I say that, his position on this was not in terms of a cowering or a fearful thing, but he's doing what he thinks is in the best interest of the league. So I do think he based on my reporting, he did check with the appropriate people he needed to. And furthermore, when I talk about getting ahead of this thing, you're absolutely right, Fox. They've been on the wrong end overall. But when I say get ahead, I'm talking about the storm that's coming this season. the coronavirus pandemic, how it's disproportionately affected Black people, the George Floyd situation, and a myriad of other issues. These players are going to protest this year. So the
Right.
tidal wave he had to get ahead of is there's nothing in the CBA that says they can't protest. This was going to come, so that's what he was trying to get ahead of.
Dominique, you got 15 seconds. You can finish it up.
Absolutely. I think that you're right, but it's interesting because his job is to make money for them. But it feels like right now the right thing to do to make money for them is to take the position that he took and maybe even take a more aggressive stance. So I think that you're right. I'm not disagreeing with you at all. He's doing what's best for the money right now. I'm suggesting that maybe he needs to step out and do what's best for society and probably what's best for his legacy and take a more strident stance and call on some of the owners individually to step out and do the same thing.
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.